Now it's middle of July and where are your bucks? You know, if they're on your property right now, that might mean more bad than good. The annual whitetail shift, been writing about for the last 15 years, and at least. And I see that taking place in September and October. And that's when, especially mature bucks, you know, does and fawns are more homebodies. Typically where they fawn, they'll stay. If there's food adjacent somewhere else, they'll move and shift to. But they're not moving long distances. You know, mature buck might move an average of 1.5 miles during the summertime from his summer to his fall range. And so we're looking out here in the ag fields right here, and we're not seeing as many bucks on our property. We typically every year see about 1/4 to 1/3 of the bucks that we hunt during the fall are not on the property during the summertime. If we saw it the other way around, it'd be a bad thing, because we get 3/4 of them during the summertime we want to hunt, and then they leave. And we're left with 1/4. We take more than we give, if you look at it that way, a lot more. And so we're waiting on that annual shift. The annual shift takes place sometime in mid-September, late September, early September, in through middle of October. And that's when we start seeing some of our regular bucks over and over and over again. What's really cool is this time of the year, it allows you to do a lot of stuff on your land. People are always wondering, when should I stay off my land? Well, if you're not on your land and the deer aren't there, what good is that? It gives you a lot of opportunity to get out here and actually enjoy, work on your land, get to know your land better. And so when the bucks aren't here is when I want to be working on the land. I don't want to work on the land in September and October. And it's interesting that a lot of people stay off their land all year long. They're off their land during the summertime, hardly doing anything, not going into certain bedding areas, but then they go hunt those bedding areas when the deer are there during hunting season. I want to see you flip that around. And so that coincides with the shift. We have some rednecks right here that we have to put out. We want to put out. And it's middle of July. I'd be happy if we got those out by middle of August. Our season opens middle of September. That's plenty of weeks for forgiveness, and the mature buck shouldn't be on the land anyways. So we'll get these rednecks right here. We'll get those out in the next month. There's no rush to put those on, even though it's July 15th, because the deer are not here. Now, why do the deer do that? You know, does and fawns are they really gravitate to their summer fawning grounds. And if the conditions stay of quality food, quality cover, then they'll stay in those fawning grounds year round. They just won't leave. Now, they do migrate to those fawning crowds. They might move over here, but they're not, again, moving like miles at a time unless you're in yarding areas up north where they have to go find thermal protection cover during the wintertime, traditional yarding areas. They're just going to shift over a little bit. That's a good thing. But if they have thick cover and food, they'll stay. They need thick cover for fawning cover. The higher the stem count, the better the fawning grounds. That hides and disperses fawning scent. That's a good thing. So does and fawns need the same cover all year. They need adequate food and great thick cover. Bucks, on the other hand, need summer food, and they have such a big home range, several times more than does, they're going to go find it. They need high quality summer food, and then they need thick stem count cover in the fall, not during the summer. So during the summer, they want to go sit in some shade somewhere on some knoll. They want to be by themselves, not around a bunch of does and fawns. They're like grumpy old men like that. They want to go off to themselves. They want to have great adjacent summer food. Well, that summer food's gone, and that open cover that they prefer during the summer is now what they need for the fall and the winter, so they move. Now, in traditional ag-rich areas where you have 60 acres, 80 acres, 100 acres of cover surrounded by miles of ag, well, you might hold those deer all year round in that one spot just because they don't have a choice but to be in that cover that's lacking in the area. But that's not reflective of the majority of whitetail hunters. And I know there's a percentage, 5–10% of you that hunt in those big ag-rich areas. We're in an ag-rich area here, meaning that 40–50% of the land is in ag. But because of the hills and hollows and points and ridges, they can't ag everything. So that gives us a good mix of cover and a good balance. And so in those kind of cases, those bucks are not forced into one location for the entire year. So they choose to spread their summer range from their fall range, and usually it's quite a bit of a difference. So that's why it's so important on your own property to have that high quality food, because those bucks are going to go find it. They don't just want to find good habitat where there's good browse in the woods. You've been maintaining the browse in the woods, and that's great. You have thick cover. They want quality food, which, around in these areas is food plots, high quality food plots. Around here, especially with some of the neighbors around here that are putting a lot into food plots, some good neighbors that I have, You're not going to see very many deer if you don't have quality food plots around here. It's just the way it is. But if you can afford the land, you can probably afford the food plots. So that annual shift takes place when the ag-rich area around here starts getting depleted, picked, matured, beans mature. Corn is typically more of a December thing. The alfalfa gets frosted out and those bucks move, and that coincides with that shift in September, October. And so what we're doing right now, we went again last night on a little cruise around the neighborhood. The other night we think we might have seen LL beams. We can't say definitively. Dylan, I'm saying 50-50. What are you thinking?
I'd rather not comment.
You're thinking more like 10?
Yeah.
You think he's dead?
I don't know. I don't want to say it out loud.
You don't think it's him?
I don't know.
You're saying he's not him. That sucks. Anyways, I'm saying there's a chance.
I hate to sound like a pessimist. That's the problem.
I'm thinking more 50-50. Dylan's in the 2% club. So, but even at 2%, there's a chance. That's 1 in 50. That's 1 in 50. So we'll go with that. But either way, it was a beautiful wide buck. There's another one next to it that looks like it has a start of splits on the G2s, which might be newbie. But either way, there's a couple really nice stud bucks just 3/4 mile away, a mile away, and that'd be the perfect distance for where LL Beams and even newbie. We know newbie lives over in that area. So we like going around and trying to find those bucks, identify them, see what they look like this year. But we're not finding them typically like an LL Beams or a newbie on our own land, even the Big 12 from last year. What's the one that, Pokey, big 10-point, he was in last year, beautiful 10-point. They're just not around. And so we have to go find them. Even Junior, he gives us glimpses of what he looks like. But he's typically not around either during the summer, other than just a few glimpses here and there. When they probably get relocated from their old area, get pressured, people go into stands where they're at during the summer, all of a sudden they come over to their fall range and show a glimpse. But bottom line is those whitetails are going to shift. That's awesome because you can get whatever work done you want on your property. We're going to install these blinds. Now we do install the blinds back in some brush. I mean, even if you had an example right here, if this was the edge of a food plot, you can see our silky willows from big rock trees there. You see these conifers in the background. In fact, I wouldn't even put one of those on a 10-foot platform. You can see those platforms over there. We have 2 5-footers and 1 10-footer. So we're going to put a couple of those on 5-foot platforms, and one's going to go on a 10-footer. I'd put one of these, if this was a food plot edge or an area I'm hunting, I'm going to take one of these rednecks. I'm going to put it behind this silky willow bush on a 5-foot platform in between those 2 conifers. And that's golden. Those deer are hardly notice it's there. It'll blend in, profile's hidden, you can't see into it. We can approach it without spooking the deer. And those are the kind of setups we have with our blinds. We're not just sticking a blind out in the middle of a food plot. That's a very bad idea all around, let alone the timing of the year. So we don't need the deer to get used to these in any way because we're hiding them when we set them up. But regardless of what you're doing on the land, great time to get in and around your land, use your land, enjoy your land, count on the shift, plan for the shift, build your property for that shift. And if you hunt it correctly and you design your property like we teach on this channel, then you'll be in that 5% club, meaning there's only 5% of the land in the neighborhood that attracts mature bucks during the hunting season, during the daylight. That's the most critical. If you're getting them all at night, that's not a good thing. And a lot of you have questions about this stuff, and I urge you on our new podcast, we have the phone number in the description. Give us a call, leave us a voicemail, and give us your whitetail question related to that time of the year, whether it's weather forecast hunting when you get into later in the season, whatever it might be, hunting hills and thermals. The list goes on and on for whatever time of the year it is. Give us your questions, detailed question, leave your name, your number, location where you're at, and don't need to leave your last name, but we'll play that on our new podcast, those questions, so you, the viewer, will be the ones that direct what's going on in that podcast. And from that, we'll try to choose a couple per week that we can call and say, hey, we're going to be filming this, recording this at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. Are you available to actually call in and have a discussion with us about your question? We feel it's something that'll help a lot of people. And so we hope to hear from you in that voicemail. And then we hope to be able to discuss those with you in person, whether it's the whitetail shift or anything else we talk about in this channel. We hope to hear from you soon.